The galaxy had slept for 10,000 years. Civilizations rose and fell. Empires turned to dust. The stars kept shining, cold and quiet, untouched by the chaos of the past. No one expected the silence to break. Then, it did. It began as a faint sound, so soft that the scanners on the Vega relay almost missed it. A low, rhythmic pulse. Not radio static. Not background radiation. It was too steady. Too alive. On the frozen moon of Vega 9, Technician Lyra Dor leaned forward in disbelief as her instruments lit up. "Commander, you might want to see this." Her commander, a tall reptilian officer with scales the color of rust, frowned as the sound repeated. Thump. Thump. He muttered, "That's biological." The signal spread in seconds. Across hundreds of worlds, deep space relays began to flash warnings. From the floating cities of Draka to the glass domes of the Thren system, every communications center picked up the same impossible rhythm. And then came the words. 3 simple, ancient words. The humans return. On the galactic core world of Halaxis, the Council of the Elder Races gathered for an emergency session. The chamber was carved from black crystal, filled with holograms of every major power in the galaxy. The air shimmered with tension. High Chancellor Vorath of the Serathai Empire struck the table with a claw. "This is a hoax. Humans are extinct." The archivist of the Ceylon Rings adjusted her breathing mask and whispered. "And yet, the language is theirs. Pre-Exodus Terran. No one uses it anymore." An ancient hologram flickered in the center of the chamber, a visual of the signal waveform. Behind it, a faint image emerged, the outline of a starship. Enormous. Unregistered. Silent. The oldest among them, the Vexian seer, spoke in a trembling voice. "We buried that name for a reason. When humanity fell, they swore they would return. Not as wanderers, but as judges." Across the galaxy, fear spread like wildfire. The lesser races didn't even know who the humans were. To them, it was only a ghost story. But the elder species remembered. They remembered the wars. They remembered the fire. They remembered the day the humans had nearly remade the galaxy in their own image before they vanished in the Great Collapse. Historians called them ambitious. The military called them dangerous. But the truth was simpler: humans were unpredictable. They built empires out of nothing, turned dying planets into gardens, and then destroyed themselves in a single generation. And now, they were coming back. On a lonely mining colony at the edge of the Draka Belt, a young engineer named Tira Ven watched as the sky filled with static. She was used to silence. The colony barely had 10,000 people. But when her communication console began flashing red, she froze. The words appeared across her screen, white letters on black. "The humans return." She tried to shut it down. The signal forced its way back. And then, attached to it, she found something strange, a file. She hesitated, glanced around the control room. Everyone else was panicking, shouting, calling command. Tira inserted her personal decrypt key. The file opened. Inside was a map. Not of her system, not even of known space. It pointed beyond the galactic rim, past the black rift known as the Grave of Empires, where no ship had ever returned. Her screen flickered once more, and a message appeared below the map. "Do not let them silence the truth." Then the signal cut off. Hours later, the Council declared a galaxy-wide blackout. All transmissions related to the signal were to be destroyed. The official story was simple: anomaly in subspace frequencies. False alarm. But Tira couldn't believe that. When she tried to report the data file, her commander told her to delete it. "You don't understand, Ven," he said. "If the humans really return, everything changes. Everything we've built will burn." She stared at him. "Why would they come back now?" The commander didn't answer. He just said quietly, "Because history always repeats." That night, Tira couldn't sleep. Outside her cabin window, the stars shimmered faintly. She kept thinking about that heartbeat. It hadn't sounded mechanical. It had sounded alive. Human. She loaded the file again. The coordinates glowed softly on her tablet. Her instinct screamed not to go. But another voice inside whispered louder. A voice she didn't recognize. Go see. Before dawn, she made her choice. As her small scout ship rose from the colony's surface, Tira looked back one last time. The planet below was quiet. Too quiet. Her scanners showed strange energy ripples spreading through the system, echoes of the same heartbeat, now faster, stronger. And as her engines roared to life, a transmission came through all frequencies. A voice. Cold. Human. To all who hear this, we are not your myth. We are not your memory. We are your reckoning. Tira's hands shook as she cut the comms. The voice continued to echo in her mind, soft as thunder across time. The humans were not extinct. They were returning. And as the galaxy watched, a shadow began to move across the stars. A fleet so vast it turned night into dawn. Across every world, one phrase spread in terrified whispers. History is ending. Tira Ven had never broken a command before. But now, with her ship slipping silently beyond the edge of known space, she realized she had crossed more than one line. She wasn't just disobeying orders, she was leaving the galaxy itself. The stars behind her dimmed as the navigation lights faded to red. Ahead stretched a curtain of black, the region known as the Grave of Empires. No signals. No light. No return. Her autopilot shuddered as it entered the void. Gravitational anomalies detected, the computer warned. Tira took manual control. We go through anyway. The darkness swallowed her. For hours, there was nothing but static and her own heartbeat. The instruments flickered, time itself seemed to bend. She watched her fuel levels drop, her hands trembling on the console. Then, a flash. A single light pulsed ahead, too sharp, too organized to be natural. Her scanners tried to lock on but failed. The source wasn't reflecting light, it was absorbing it. And then she saw it. At first, she thought it was a planet. But as she drew closer, her eyes widened. It was a ship. No, not one. Hundreds. Thousands. They hung in perfect formation, motionless, their dark hulls blotting out the stars behind them. Each one was shaped like an arrowhead, massive beyond comprehension, their surfaces covered with symbols she didn't recognize until she noticed one. A faded, ancient word burned into the metal. Terran. Her breath caught. Before she could process it, her comm panel blinked red. A voice came through, deep, steady, and unmistakably human. Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted human space. Identify yourself. Her mind froze. This is Tira Ven of the Draka colony. I didn't mean to intrude. I followed a signal. Signal acknowledged. Maintain position. The voice vanished. Static filled the cockpit. Outside her window, something stirred. One of the colossal ships turned slowly, deliberately, and faced her. Light rippled across its hull as energy patterns ignited, glowing like veins under skin. Tira whispered, "Impossible." The human ship opened a channel again. A figure appeared on her holoscreen, a man in a dark uniform, silver hair cropped short, eyes sharp as razors. "I am Admiral Reyes, Terran Vanguard Fleet. You have crossed into restricted territory. Explain your purpose." Tira swallowed hard. The signal, it reached us across the entire galaxy. The Council thought it was fake. I needed to see for myself. Reyes studied her silently. Behind him, the bridge of his ship buzzed with quiet precision, human officers, machines she'd never seen, holographic displays spinning with data. "Finally," he said, "you shouldn't be here." "I know," she said softly. "But, are you real? Are you truly human?" Reyes gave a faint smile, not cruel, but distant. "That depends on how you define human after 10,000 years. She frowned. "You mean, you've been gone that long?" Reyes turned slightly, as if looking out at the vast black beyond his window. "We left when the galaxy was burning. We left because we were betrayed. But we did not die. We rebuilt, far from the reach of your empires." Tira's heart raced. The Council thought humanity destroyed itself. Reyes's expression darkened. "No. Humanity was destroyed by others. By those who feared what we would become." Her blood ran cold. She remembered the whispers, the forbidden stories of the Great Collapse, when dozens of alien races had joined to wipe out the rising human colonies. Reyes continued, voice low. We sent the signal so they would know. So they would remember what they did. Tira leaned closer. And now? Why return? Reyes's gaze locked with hers. Because memory without justice is a lie. Behind him, the ship's systems flared. One by one, the enormous vessels around them began to awaken. Lights pulsed across their hulls, engines glowing blue. The void shook as they prepared to move. Tira's console went wild, power readings beyond measurable limits. What are you doing? We are taking back what was stolen, Reyes said. Earth's legacy. Our right to exist. Her hands trembled on the controls. But the galaxy has changed. The old empires are gone. You'll destroy billions. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. Billions watched Earth burn. None spoke. Tell me, pilot, do you think they deserve mercy? The words hit her like a blade. She wanted to argue, to shout that not everyone was guilty, but her voice failed her. Reyes sighed, almost regretful. You're not our enemy, Tira Ven. Go back while you can. He raised his hand, and her ship's engines powered down on their own. A tractor field wrapped around her vessel. She tried to break free, but the controls no longer answered. We'll send you to the edge of the sector, Reyes said. Forget what you saw. But before the transmission ended, Tira saw something behind him, a massive chamber filled with rows of glowing pods. Millions of them. Human faces frozen in stasis, sleeping in the dark. Her voice cracked. What are those? Reyes paused. The rest of us, he said quietly. Still waiting for a world worth waking to. Then the screen went dark. Outside, the fleet began to move, silent as a tide of shadows, gliding toward the galactic rim. As Tira's ship was dragged back toward known space, she whispered to herself. They're not coming home, they're coming to finish history. The first human fleet crossed the border at dawn. Every sensor in the Orion arm lit up with energy signatures that had no known pattern, no familiar origin. The alien navies scrambled to respond, but by the time their ships formed ranks, the human armada had already passed them. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It simply moved forward, as though the galaxy itself no longer mattered. Across 100 star systems, billions watched in silence as the night sky filled with ghostly lights, lines of Terran warships gliding through the void like silent predators. They didn't jam communications. They didn't demand surrender. They just kept coming. On the council world of Halaxis, panic was complete. Ambassadors screamed over one another in the great chamber. Broadcast screens showed one disaster after another, fleets vanishing, stations falling silent. No debris, no distress calls. Only static. High Chancellor Vorath slammed his fist against the crystal table. We must open a channel to them, offer a truce before it's too late. The archivist of Ceylon turned toward him, her voice shaking. A truce with what, Chancellor? They're not answering any signal. An aide rushed in, clutching a datapad. New transmission from Sector 9. The room fell silent. The holo display flickered on, revealing a shattered planet, the colony world of Renvar. Its surface was cracked like glass, oceans vaporized into glowing mist. No weapons fire. No impact craters. Just silence. Then, a voice. Calm. Human. We remember what was done to Earth. The message repeated once. Then the transmission ended. Tira Ven watched the chaos unfold from her small ship, hidden in the shadows of an asteroid field. She couldn't sleep. Every comm channel was filled with rumors that the humans had technology able to bend time, that they could erase entire worlds without firing a shot. Some said their ships ran on stars themselves. Others said the humans weren't even alive, that what returned were their echoes. But Tira had seen Admiral Reyes. She had seen his eyes, cold, yes, but alive. Human. Her console blinked. An encrypted transmission. She froze when she saw the origin tag, Terran Command. She opened it, expecting a warning. Instead, a simple line appeared on her screen. You are being watched, Tira Ven. Do not interfere. Then the coordinates followed, coordinates to a system she knew. The Halaxis core. The center of the Galactic Council. Her stomach turned cold. The humans were moving toward the heart of the galaxy. On Halaxis, the Council prepared a final act of diplomacy. A fleet of 20 of the most powerful warships ever built assembled near the core ring, a show of strength meant to remind the humans that they were not the only force in the galaxy. When the human fleet arrived, it dwarfed them. The alien commanders hailed them again and again. "This is the Galactic Council Defense Command. You are violating protected space. Identify your purpose." No answer. Then, without sound or warning, every alien ship's systems went dead. Engines stopped. Shields failed. Lights flickered out. And across their bridges, holographic displays lit up, showing a human face. "Reyes. You stand in the shadow of your own history," he said. "Once, you watched our world burn. Today, we return the memory." The alien commander screamed, "What do you want from us?" Reyes's voice didn't rise. "Nothing. We only came to finish what you began." The feed cut off. In seconds, the alien ships disintegrated, not exploded, but simply ceased to exist. Matter unraveled, dissolving into dust. No explosion, no heat, no radiation. Just disappearance. The Battle of Halaxis ended before the first shot was fired. From her hiding place, Tira watched the final transmission with tears in her eyes. The humans were winning, but it didn't look like victory. Every image from the human ships showed no celebration, no joy. Just faces marked by exhaustion and sorrow. She replayed her memory of Admiral Reyes, the sadness in his tone, the way he spoke of betrayal. What had humanity endured out there in the dark? What had they become? Her console beeped again. Another message. This one came from an unknown relay, deep within the Terran communication grid. "If you can hear this, you must find the truth. The fleet is not what it seems. They are not all awake." Attached was a single fragment of data, an image of endless cryogenic pods, filled with sleeping humans. Tira's breath caught. She remembered seeing those same pods behind Reyes. But now she noticed something else. The background wasn't a ship interior. It was a planet. A human world, hidden and untouched. She whispered, "They're not just here for vengeance, they're bringing them back." Across the galaxy, chaos spread. Empires collapsed, trade routes vanished, and the surviving races began to gather in fear. Some wanted to fight. Most wanted to beg. But it didn't matter. Humanity's silence was louder than any declaration of war. And on every world, under every sky, one phrase kept spreading, whispered by those who understood what was coming. When the humans march, history kneels. The human fleet did not stop. World after world went silent. Not destroyed, erased. No bodies, no wreckage, no screams across the comms. Just darkness. The council called it the vanishing. Tira Ven couldn't stand by any longer. She needed to know why. After weeks of searching through encrypted channels and abandoned relays, she found what she was looking for, a Terran transport beacon, orbiting a dead moon on the edge of the Nitha system. The humans didn't seem to guard it. She slipped through their outer sensors, cloaking her ship in radiation shadows. The beacon pulsed faintly, projecting coordinates toward a nearby dark planet, one not listed on any stellar map. As she descended through its thin atmosphere, her sensors detected massive energy readings below. Cities, black, silent, and buried beneath the planet's crust. When she landed, she expected soldiers or drones. Instead, she found a door. Ancient, covered in rust and ice. The letters on it were human, though barely legible. Project, Seed. The door opened on its own. Inside, corridors stretched endlessly, lit by faint blue light. Machines hummed softly, running on power sources she couldn't identify. Everything looked ancient, yet still alive, as if the facility itself was waiting. And then she saw them. Rows upon rows of pods, thousands of them, stacked like honeycombs along the walls. Inside each one was a human. Sleeping. Ageless. Perfectly preserved. Her breath caught in her throat. "They're alive." A voice answered from behind her. "They are. For now." She spun around, heart pounding. Admiral Reyes stood there, his uniform dark and immaculate, his expression calm. You shouldn't be here, Tira. She stepped back. You're killing entire worlds. Why? Why do this? Reyes didn't move. His eyes softened slightly, almost weary. We are not killing. We are cleansing. Cleansing, she echoed. You're erasing species, histories, cultures. He turned and began to walk deeper into the corridor. When humanity fell, they didn't die all at once. The collapse was slow, 1,000 betrayals, 1,000 knives in the dark. Our allies turned against us. Our enemies watched and waited. When Earth burned, the galaxy cheered. His voice trembled slightly on that last word. He stopped before a glass wall. Behind it, thousands more pods glowed softly, filled with motionless figures. These are the children of Earth. The last generation before the fire. We kept them asleep while we rebuilt. We swore we'd wake them only when the galaxy was ready. Tira stared at him. And you think wiping everyone out will make it ready? Reyes looked at her with something that almost resembled sadness. We built something called the Reset. A device that will rewrite memory not just of humans, but of the entire galaxy. Every archive, every history, every record that contains the word Earth will vanish. So will the guilt. So will the hate. Tira's stomach turned. You'll erase everything. That's the point, he said quietly. A clean start. A galaxy that never knew the wars, never knew the betrayal. Her voice cracked. That's not peace. That's silence. Reyes's expression darkened. You think we want this? I watched my planet die, Tira. I listened to our children scream as their skies burned. There's no peace left, only the chance to make sure no one remembers the monsters they made of us. A deep rumble shook the ground. Alarms flashed red across the walls. Reyes pressed his wrist console. They've found us, he muttered. Who? Tira asked. The coalition of the last dawn. Your council's new alliance. They think they can stop us before the reset is complete. He looked at her, almost pleading. Leave this place. You've seen enough. But Tira didn't move. If you go through with this, there will be nothing left, not even you. Reyes hesitated. For a brief moment, she saw the war between duty and conscience in his eyes. Then he said softly, some things were never meant to survive. As he turned to leave, Tira reached out. Reyes, wait. What if you're wrong? What if there's another way to begin again, without ending everything? He stopped. Do you believe the galaxy deserves forgiveness? She nodded. Yes. Because if you erase it, you erase hope too. Reyes looked away, silent for a long moment. Then he handed her a small data crystal. If you truly believe that, then keep this. It's the master key. If the reset activates, this may be the only way to stop it. Tira stared at it, trembling. Why give this to me? His voice was low, almost broken. Because you're the first person in 10,000 years who looked at us and didn't see monsters. When Tira left the planet, she saw the human fleet moving again, billions of lights stretching across the stars, forming an arrow pointed at the galactic core. Her console flickered with intercepted transmissions. The coalition fleets were mobilizing. The final confrontation was coming. She held the crystal tightly, whispering to herself. If history must end, then someone must remember it. And behind her, the voice of Admiral Reyes echoed through her comm one last time, soft, almost human again. For 10,000 years, we were the ghosts of your sins. Now, we come to erase them. The galaxy had never united before. Not during the Great Wars. Not even when the ancient suns collapsed. But now, under the shadow of humanity's return, even sworn enemies stood side by side. They called themselves the Coalition of the Last Dawn. A desperate alliance of the broken races that once ruled, races that once hid, all now facing the same end. From the great fortress world of Halaxis, fleets launched in every direction. Massive carriers, smaller strike ships, old defense drones reprogrammed for war. They had one goal: reach the Terran flagship, the Vanguard Prime, and stop the reset device before it activated. For the first time in 10,000 years, The galaxy prepared to fight together. But deep down, no one truly believed they could win. Tira Ven sat in the command deck of an alien cruiser, her eyes fixed on the holographic projection of the Terran fleet. It filled the map like a black ocean. The Coalition had hundreds of ships. The humans had thousands. And each Terran vessel was strong enough to erase a world. Beside her, Captain Roll, a broad, scarred warrior from the Khotin tribes, muttered under his breath. "They don't fight like us. They don't even move like us. They glide, as if gravity itself obeys them." Tira said nothing. She still carried the data crystal Admiral Reyes had given her. She had studied it for days, but most of it remained locked. A fragment, though, showed part of the truth. The reset device wasn't just a weapon. It was a memory engine, capable of rewriting every living mind, purging entire histories from existence. She whispered, "If they activate it, no one will remember what came before. Not even them." Roll turned to her. "Then we fight, and we die remembering." Across the stars, the first battles began. Coalition fleets opened fire, their energy blasts lighting the darkness like firestorms. But the Terran ships didn't fire back. Instead, they released pulses of light that bent the enemy shots, turning them into harmless arcs that vanished into nothing. One by one, the alien ships went dark, not destroyed, but emptied. Their crews vanished, their hulls left drifting. Whole armadas disappeared in silence. From the Terran command ship, Admiral Reyes watched without emotion. His officers spoke in calm, precise voices. Sector 12 cleared. Resistance minimal. Phase 2 preparation complete. Reset countdown, 72 hours. Reyes nodded. Continue as planned. But his eyes flickered toward the side console, the empty pod where Tira had once stood when he last saw her. He didn't say it aloud, but the memory haunted him. On Halaxis, the Council broadcasted a final plea. The galaxy's remaining leaders gathered in the Grand Chamber, sending one last message into the void. The archivist of Ceylon spoke, her voice trembling but clear. "We do not beg for mercy. We beg for memory. Let the truth survive you, so the stars will know what you were, not what vengeance made you." The message went unanswered. But on the edge of human space, a single transmission flickered on a hidden Terran frequency. It was short, coded, and carried one signature, Reyes. It read, "You were right. It's not peace if no one remembers it." Attached to it were coordinates, the exact location of the Vanguard Prime. Tira stared at the message for a long moment. Then she turned to Captain Roll. "He's giving us a chance." Roll's eyes widened. "From the enemy himself?" She nodded. "Maybe he's done being one." The Coalition gathered its final strength. The plan was simple but insane, a direct assault through the center of the Terran fleet. If they could breach the command core and destroy the reset engine, the galaxy might survive. As they prepared, Tira stood at the observation window, looking at the endless dark. She whispered, "We don't have to win. We just have to make them remember." Her words spread through the fleet. Across every ship, pilots, soldiers, engineers, beings of hundreds of species, repeated it like a prayer. "We just have to make them remember." When the battle began, the galaxy itself seemed to burn. Human and alien ships clashed across space, filling the void with light and death. Massive gravitational storms twisted through the battlefield as the Terran weapons tore apart the fabric of reality. Tira's ship broke through the first Terran line, engines screaming, shields collapsing. "Incoming!" Roll shouted as another wave of Terran drones appeared. Tira pushed the throttle. "Keep going. We reach the core, or we die trying." Outside, massive Terran vessels turned toward them, their weapons glowing. But just as they fired, a strange distortion rippled through the void, the shots veered off course. Someone was interfering. Reyes's voice came through her comm, soft but steady. "You'll have 3 minutes before they regain control. Don't waste them." Tira's breath caught. "Reyes, why are you helping us?" "Because I finally remembered what it means to be human." The line cut. As her ship dived toward the glowing central structure of the Vanguard Prime, Tira saw it, a massive sphere suspended in the heart of the flagship, pulsing with light. The reset engine. Billions of memories shimmered inside it like trapped ghosts. The history of an entire galaxy, waiting to be erased. Tira clutched the data crystal. She could feel its energy, the key Reyes had given her. If she could reach the core, she might be able to stop it or at least delay it. Her ship shuddered as debris struck the hull. Roll roared from the controls, "If this doesn't work, then, it's been an honor." She smiled faintly through the smoke. Let's make history last one more day. Behind them, the sky burned with the light of dying stars. Ahead, the human flagship glowed brighter than the sun. The galaxy had united for one last fight, not for power, not for victory, but for memory. And as Tira's ship vanished into the heart of the Terran fleet, one message pulsed across every surviving channel. Remember the name of Earth. The human flagship Vanguard Prime hung over the war-torn system like a silent god. Around it, the galaxy's final battle raged, a storm of burning metal, collapsing wormholes, and dying stars. Every coalition ship that approached the Terran line vanished under a wave of invisible energy. There were no explosions, no debris, only silence. The reset field was growing stronger. Inside the command deck, Admiral Reyes watched the devastation unfold. The screens glowed with tactical data, but he wasn't looking at them. He was listening to the faint echoes that the machine was beginning to generate. Voices. Billions of them. Whispering in every known language. It was the sound of history being rewritten. His second officer, Commander Juno, approached. "Sir, the device is reaching activation threshold. 2 minutes to full memory cascade." Reyes nodded slowly, but his eyes were distant. "And the resistance?" "Still fighting, sir. They've breached the outer hull but won't last long." Reyes turned away, whispering, "They're not meant to last long. Just to remind us." Tira Ven's cruiser tore through the upper atmosphere of Vanguard Prime, its shields flickering. Half her crew was gone, the rest worked in silence, too exhausted to speak. The entire ship trembled as another Terran defense drone exploded nearby. Captain Roll roared over the noise, "We're losing power. We can't make another run." Tira gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles white. "We're not running. We're landing." The ship smashed through the outer plating, skidding across molten metal until it slammed to a stop in the docking corridor. Fires erupted, alarms screamed, but Tira was already unbuckling her harness. She carried one thing, the data crystal, glowing faintly in her hand. "Roll, hold them off. No matter what." The Khotin warrior grinned, drawing his plasma blade. "Go, Ven. The galaxy's waiting." She ran through the metal corridors of Vanguard Prime, the air vibrating with the pulse of the reset engine. It felt alive, like a heart beating inside a god. Bodies of Terran soldiers lined the halls, not dead, but unconscious. Reyes had ordered them not to fight her. She could tell. He was giving her a path. Finally, she reached the core chamber. A vast sphere of light floated in the center, woven from billions of human memories, faces, voices, histories, all trapped and spinning like fireflies in a storm. Tira stepped closer. The data crystal pulsed in her hand, responding to the engine. Then, a voice echoed behind her. "You made it." She turned. Admiral Reyes stood in the doorway, unarmed, his uniform scorched and torn. Tira raised her pistol but didn't shoot. "Why? Why bring me here?" Reyes looked up at the glowing sphere. His face was tired, haunted. "Because I built this to save humanity. But it's not saving anyone, is it?" Tira's eyes narrowed. "You're erasing everything. Everyone." He nodded. "That was the point. Humanity wanted to end history, to wipe away all the wars, the pain, the mistakes. To start fresh. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that pain is history." Tira held out the crystal. "You can still stop it." Reyes smiled faintly. "No, Commander. You can." He stepped aside, revealing the core access port. "Insert the crystal. It'll trigger a paradox loop. The engine will collapse, but it'll take me and this ship with it." Tira stared at him. "You'll die." He nodded. "I already have. I just need someone to remember why." Outside, the battle reached its peak. The Coalition's last fleet dove straight into the reset field, ships breaking apart as they tried to protect the path to Vanguard Prime. Captain Roll's cruiser held its ground until the very end, firing until its guns melted. Across every comm channel, one phrase kept repeating, over and over, in every tongue, every dialect, every code. Remember the name of Earth. It wasn't a plea. It was a declaration. Inside the core chamber, alarms blared. The reset countdown hit 30 seconds. Tira stepped toward the console, the crystal glowing brighter. She hesitated, tears in her eyes. If I do this, everything we know could vanish. Reyes placed a hand over hers. If you don't, it definitely will. She nodded and slammed the crystal into the port. The room exploded in light. The reset engine screamed like a dying star, collapsing in on itself. Memory threads shattered, scattering like starlight. Across the galaxy, ships went silent as every sensor overloaded. Reyes staggered back, smiling through the chaos. You did it. Tira shouted over the roar, what happens now? He looked up at the collapsing sphere. Now, we see what's left when history remembers itself. The light consumed them both. Far away, on the ruins of Halaxis, the Coalition fleets detected the explosion. Then, silence. No more human signals. No more enemy transmissions. The stars were quiet again. But something strange began to happen across the galaxy. People started remembering different things. Entire timelines overlapping. Planets appearing in new places. Old songs no one had ever written before. It was as if history had rewritten itself, but this time, with every memory intact. Tira Ven's name appeared in the records of 100 worlds. Admiral Reyes's sacrifice was sung in the temples of the Kotin. And across the endless night, one phrase echoed again and again, carried in the hum of the stars themselves. The humans returned, but they remembered. The galaxy was reborn. But deep in the shattered remains of Vanguard Prime, one small red light still pulsed. A heartbeat. Humanity wasn't finished.